Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Austin, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I cannot believe it. It is going on the fourth year again with the BMWC in 2019. This is definitely a platform that you need to be on. If you haven't been on a podcast before, we have 57 amazing participants this year and 10 sponsors, which one of them is on tonight. And so I would like to introduce you to her in just a few minutes. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWC podcast is to not only share our industry information, but we are encouraging career seekers, working professionals, speakers, and authors to seek their line of work. Please be sure to listen and visit all of the pages and podcast recordings that we have posted this year. There is a ton of information, new information, because I will tell you that this year we have such amazing and very intricate professions out there. And I want to encourage everybody to go out there and check it out. So basically, I would like to take a moment to introduce our 10 corporate sponsors that we have going on this year. First, we would like to thank My Financial Home, Evangelism Radio, Sears Consulting, JNF Enterprises, Autism Family Rocks, Awakening to Love, Ellie Natoli, Kimberly McLemore, True Synergy, and Platinum Financial Services, along with our other BMWC participants who are helping to make this season a huge, huge success. And so again, I would like to talk about how we have another person who was on the podcast last year. She blew it up in the HR realm. She has come back again as one of our corporate sponsors, Miss Tamika Sears. And Tamika, her mission is to help people become more self-aware so that they can lead from a place of authenticity and self-acceptance. She believes that everyone should have the ability to bring their whole selves to work and have the opportunity to be innovative and empowered. And as an HR professional and leadership development coach for the past 20 years, she has had the honor of coaching and developing leaders in a wide range of organizations, from Fortune 100 companies to mom and pop shops. And I want you guys to continue to read her bio because there's such good information there. So, Tamika, how you doing? Tamika, girl, you know I'm gonna get your name right. Girl, how you doing?
Great. I am absolutely fantastic. I am so happy to be here.
I know, I'm so excited I can't even talk. I can't believe it. We're back again in 2019 on the podcast. And last year, you kind of blew up the stage about being a generalist versus HR and all the wonderful things that you were doing. So just give everybody a reminder of who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing. And, let's get into it.
So I am an HR professional. I've been in HR for 20 plus years, and I'm also an executive coach. I work full time for an awesome company, work for USA Today, and I run my own business, Sears Coaching, on the side. And so what I talked about last year was kind of the difference between, for HR people that are getting into HR, the difference between kind of coming up as an HR generalist and moving into more of a business partner and leadership role, and some of the things that you need to know, to learn and grow and develop as an HR person. And what I do for my coaching business, I do a lot with helping leaders grow and, like you said, lead with authenticity. And it's really, a lot of people are focusing on entrepreneurs, but my focus really is on people who are in corporate America, because that's my life, and so that's my authenticity. So that's where I try to focus my client base.
Okay, fantastic. So let's dig deep into the authenticity part. Okay, so you're doing the leadership training and you're doing all this stuff. Why do you think there's a need to be self-authentic, and especially when you're a leader? What is the gap that you're seeing that requires this kind of attention?
So one of the things that I'm seeing is that the face of employees, it's changing completely. It's not just, everyone talks about the millennials, but there's a whole generation of people coming up after the millennials. And nobody wants to hear that um, I struggled, so you have to struggle type of leadership. People want to be treated as people and as humans and as equals. And that's a different mindset than I think a lot of the, older style leaders have. And so when I say leading with authenticity, it's, treating people the way that you would, not necessarily the way that you were treated, but the way that you want to be treated. And doing things in a way that's right for you. Being inclusive and understanding feedback and kind of embracing people as a whole.
Okay. And so the other question I was going to ask, and you kind of already touched on it when you said the word inclusive. And that is a very important word because in the last 3 or 4 years, there is a big issue with diversity and inclusion. And it just sounds to me that being authentic is really just, accepting yourself and others. Is that what I'm hearing you're saying?
Yes, it is accepting yourself for who you are.
Mhm.
Whether you want to be a purple-haired, shorts-wearing, office worker, or if you want to be the buttoned-up blazer stiletto gal like me, you are who you are, and love who you are, and love people as they are.
Okay, so how successful do you think people are really looking at this? I know that there's, some talk of in different forms. I think yours is in authenticity, if I'm gonna get the word right. But I'm seeing it in other ways as well, in different events and and things of that nature of being accepted. Do you think that the percentage of people will start to accept this type of authenticity in the future? Especially if they're leaders, and more especially if they are millennials who are coming up as managers in these positions.
I definitely think so. I think it is definitely becoming more acceptable. And to take it even a step further, it has to be more acceptable because people are not going to deal with being treated in that cookie cutter way that people were before. So if leaders don't embrace authenticity and they don't embrace this inclusion, your company will go away. It won't exist anymore. Um, when you hear about inclusion, right? Like some of the things that you want to think about. Do you ever watch like a TV commercial or you see a product, you're like, how in the heck did that happen? Like who was so
Yeah,
Austin Walker, that they let that slip through. It's
right.
like going back to that Kylie Jenner Pepsi commercial. You're like, who did that?
Hmm.
So when you have inclusion and you have people that have a seat at the table, that's one step. But you also have to have that authenticity so that people not only are just included, but they're allowed to speak with their authentic voice. So that if they are at that table and somebody says, we want to do this horribly offensive thing, they're saying, hey, just an FYI, that's not going to be well received by people who look like me, or people who are have the same disability as me, or people who whatever. Having that ability to have your voice heard is going to be key in the future.
Absolutely. And the podcast is all about unity. And so here's another question I would like to ask too, just to get your thoughts. Because everyone is on the internet, mobile apps, the whole social media gambit, okay? Do you think it's easier for people to accept than to be in person because there's so much technology that allows people to hide behind technology and be whoever they want to be?
It's funny that you say that. I actually was with my very best friend. Her daughter is 15 years old, and she was at my house, and she was on Snapchat, and kind of walking me through. I felt like I was like 302 talking to her. She's walking me through all of these things, and she was saying that she has a lot of people that she considers to be very close friends that she'll talk to every day on Snapchat, like through pictures and text. But in school, they don't actually talk to each other. So I was like, well, that's, really interesting because I do think that there's definitely a generation coming up that they are going to be more comfortable with online chatting or with, kind of the keyboard relationships rather than the face to face one on one relationship. So it's going to be very interesting
Mhm.
to see how that plays out in the future.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, and I'm telling my age here, okay? It kind of reminds me when the internet really first got out there. And of course, as a parent with kids just learning the internet, the first thing I was thinking of, you have to be careful who you're speaking with over the internet. You just never know who you're talking to. You don't know their identity. They could be anyone or anything. And so now it has shifted in the last, 10, 15, 20 years, that it's just totally acceptable for someone to accept who you are, your pictures, and everything while you're online. Now, spinning this over to an HR perspective, how does this now affect how HR professionals are looking at employees before they hire them, knowing this information today?
Well, and that's the thing though, is I do feel like it has become more acceptable, but it's still quite dangerous because you do want to make sure that people are who they say they are. You don't want to have to run into a situation. It's a like story of a story of a story where you hire this remote worker and it turns out to be somebody who is absolutely not who you thought that they were. So as HR people, we have to do our due diligence. We have to vet people. We have to make sure that people are truly who they say that they are, because there's all kinds of like laws you can run afoul of, and it's a pretty murky place to be because this is brand new. 10 years ago there was no way that you could hire someone and they would just be 100% remote. You'd never see them, but that's becoming more and more prevalent, so we do have to be very careful with our hiring practices.
Okay, do you also think that this increases discrimination with certain jobs and not just an ethical thing, maybe appearance, hairstyles, clothing, personality types?
So I think that the ability to hire remote actually helps um, with diversity. Because if you're hiring someone and you are interviewing them via video or you never even see them, then you don't know that they have blue hair. You don't know that they're full of tattoos. You don't know that they were wearing shorts. So I think that the anonymity gives people a lot of opportunity. But at the same time, I want people to know that it's okay to come out of that shell and, do a video interview with your green hair, because those are the types of, voices that need to be heard. It takes all kinds to have a company run successfully. And so it kind of makes me sad that sometimes people feel like they do have to hide behind that anonymity of, the internet.
Okay, so let's spin this around just a little bit. What advice would you give to those who are in those situations where they have special, unique personalities and appearance of expression to be able to interview without fear, without feeling like they are made separate? What advice would you give to them from an HR perspective, because you touched on a little bit, however, with the age of video conferencing growing every day, there is a higher chance that they won't be able to hide behind just a phone call or resume. So what advice would you give to those people who really stand firm to their identity, but still would like to have the same equal opportunity afforded to them?
So there's a couple different answers to that. Number one, if anyone does anything illegal during an interview, report it. I do remember when I was younger, I came across that and I didn't, and I sometimes think back and say I should have, because that company probably did the same thing to someone else and I could have stopped it. So it's one of those things. But the other thing, if someone does something and it's not illegal, it's just kind of like that gray line where you're like, maybe they didn't hire me because they didn't like that I have a tattoo. Really think about whether or not you want to work for a company that doesn't want to hire you because you have a tattoo. Like that company making those type of hiring decisions, they won't be around for much longer because they can't. It's just not a sustainable business model to discriminate against people based on how they look, how they dress, whether or not they have a southern accent. Like none of that is sustainable any longer. So to that employee that feels like they were slighted, you know what? you are better off working someplace where you are embraced and you are able to bring your whole self to work. So don't sweat it. Don't worry
Hmm.
about it. Someplace
Don't
that
worry
loves
about
you.
it.
Yep, as much
Okay.
as you love yourself.
Yeah, okay. And I guess it's probably the same is true for HR or generalists who are facing an organization that does that. I guess they have to figure out, what is consciously, what is really on their conscience and on their heart to do, because everybody deserves a job and a fair chance, in my opinion. But I have worked for organizations that have done that, and I'm hoping that those organizations have changed and realized that, in today's world with millennials coming up and also the generations like my kids are in, whatever generation that they're in right about now, they're the ones, because there's so many of them, so I can't keep up with all of them, but, that they would see the different identities that is happening over the last 10 or 15 years. It is definitely something different. So let's
Right.
go into switching gears as far as HR. What are some of the things that HR professionals nowadays have to invest in order to get their skills up to be either an HR generalist or an HR resource professional?
Oh gosh, and this is something that I was actually just talking to someone that I mentor about. So, one of the things that people are starting to talk about that I think aren't they're not talking about enough is and it's like, though the robots are coming, the robot invasion, but what can be done with machine learning, with artificial intelligence, that right now HR people do. So there are a lot of talent acquisition algorithms out there now that can help you narrow down to your best candidates. And that used to be, someone going through resumes, hours after hours. That now, within 10 minutes, the resumes are sorted. So, I spent a lot of time for myself going through and saying, what skills do I have and what do I bring to the table as a human resources professional? And what skills of those can't ever, can't with the technology available now, or what I think technology will be, what can't be done by machine learning or by, artificial intelligence. And what it really boils down to is kind of that human interaction, that company culture piece, like developing culture, motivating employees, and working with leaders to develop their soft skills. So if I, had advice to give to up and coming HR people, it's going to be to really focus on your own soft skills, your own emotional intelligence, and your ability to help navigate leaders through murky situations with employees, help them motivate their teams, and help them build, the best, most diverse, comprehensive, productive teams available.
Absolutely. There are three things that you touched on that I kind of want to dig into. You mentioned the ATS, the automatic tracking system, soft skills, and emotional intelligence. I think that you're right on the money with those three things because most often, I think that I would say many organizations do offer this kind of training to their employees, but it's not really advertised to them, or maybe they don't know that it's available to them. And as far as the ATS, I get clients all the time that says, I want a resume that's going to be picked up by the ATS, but a lot of it will be picked up if they had the soft skills, the writing skills, the technical skills to kind of bring those skills out in their resume to be picked up. And I think that some of the training that could be offered through employers could help these employees develop those writing and soft skills. Do you
Right.
think that that's a true statement? Because I mean, I like the company I work for, they're always talking about how you can get training at all these different places. But I worked at many organizations that either don't invest in the training or they have it, but they don't talk about it.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's training and development is one of the things I think sometimes gets the short end of the stick whenever there's like budget cuts or something like that. Companies don't really continue to invest in training, but they should for a lot of reasons. When you have a workforce that has been with your company for a while, it would be great for them to be able to move and promote internally. but sometimes they just don't have the same level of interview skills as, an external person. So the external people, you have to bring them in, they have to learn the company, and so they don't get up and running as fast as your internal people. So it would be great if internal people had the same kind of leg up with knowing how to make a resume look great and how to get it through the applicant tracking system. And there are some companies that invest in those things, but I know an awful lot of people who do consultant work, and they will go into a company and say, "Hey, I can help you get your internals up and going because it's going to save you money in the long run when you can promote internally rather than always, promote externally."
Absolutely. I do think that I think more employees too also should have the responsibility and the onus on themselves to ask about training as well and not assume that the employer is going to provide that information, because I think it's a two-way street. If you are working for an organization, you really should find out what type of training applications or what kind of training programs do they have or can offer to their employees, whether it's internal or external, or maybe even suggest a program that the organization could use for its employees. Because while you're working there, you could be getting all kinds of information and learning so many different things in the process. And I think that that would also help with career transitioning and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of asking. If you don't ask for something, it's never going to happen. So you have to ask. Whether it's asking for, one-on-one once a month even with your leader so that you can say, where do you see me learning and growing? And what can you do to help me learn and grow? But you have to ask. You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely. And I want to encourage people to pursue HR careers because I know that we need you guys out there. That's why we have, Tamika Sears on here talking about this stuff. So speaking of Miss Sears, tell us about your coaching business and what you offer, what type of things that are needed out here today for the people who you're serving.
So my coaching business, I've been having tons and tons and tons of fun this last year and coming up ahead with coaching. So what I offer is I do group coaching. So I can go into an organization and say if they are having some like employee engagement issues or people aren't motivated, help them like with an intact team learn how to truly motivate their employees. I do a lot of one-on-one work as well with higher level executives to help them um, learn and grow and be able to move their company forward once they have like their better leadership skills. And one of the other things I'm doing this year that is brand new and I'm super excited about it is I'm doing a women's leadership retreat in Phuket, Thailand in October. And it's going to be a 7-day all inclusive retreat to help women really kind of tap into themselves as women and women leaders. And it's called Sense of Self. And it really is that. It's to give them back their sense of self when they're, sometimes it's like you're living in that crazy overwhelm and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that woman who has it all. Well, for me, I'm working to help people learn that you can have it all. You may not be able to have it all the time, but you can have it all, and I'll show you how.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, are you involved in any kind of events coming up that people need to go to, or anything that you feel that people need to come out and check out the information for? Because I believe in information sharing, and you can't win it unless you in it. So, what are you into this year?
So the big thing, like I said, that I'm doing this year is my retreat. I'm putting a lot of my time and energy into that because it is going to be absolutely wonderful. Like I said, it's 7 days, and you arrive on a Saturday, you leave on a Sunday. That Monday through Friday, every day you get your 2 hour spa treatment with the workshops. There's yoga in the morning. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And at the end of it, like you go home refreshed and you walk home with an action plan of what you need to do to make sure that you are moving your career and your personal life forward once you get back to the States.
Okay, and where is the retreat going to be held again?
It is going to be in Phuket, Thailand. So
Ooh,
beautiful.
to
I miss being able,
Thailand.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
haven't
I
been
love
no further than California, let
Oh
alone
my gosh. So
Thailand. Oh,
I'm
wow.
telling you, you have to come. It is going to be absolutely amazing.
Wow. Well, you know what, Tamika, just make sure I get that information so I can put that on your page so that everybody can check it out and make sure. And I'll also share it too with some of the groups so that people can sign up and get to know more about it and things like that. And so, do you have any like business workshops that you're going to be doing in the near future before the podcast or maybe after the podcast season starts?
So I will be doing some workshops, but I don't have any that are like really national. I'll be doing some locally here in Phoenix. So once a month, I'll be doing just kind of leadership workshops, and they'll be on my website as well. But I have some things that I'm doing, but it's more internal. Like I said, with companies that
Mm-hmm.
and they want me to do workshops. I do a bunch of half day workshops to kind of help, like I said, leaders learn how to motivate their teams. Um, I have a lot of fun doing those.
I love doing workshops. I just really enjoy doing that. And so tell everybody your website and your email address and share any other contact information that you want to share.
I can be found very easily at thecorporatefixer.com, or you can go to my personal page is searscoaching.com, and you can reach me via email at Tamika, that's Tamica at searscoaching.com.
Okay, and I got one final question for you, which I ask everybody is what do you need to thrive for Sears Coaching?
Well, I think what I need to thrive are leaders who are willing to learn and grow. So if you are a leader and you understand that you're not at your highest place right now, but you would like to be, I need you. I need you to contact me so I can help you live your best life and live at the top of your potential.
All right, guys, you guys heard it from our corporate sponsor, Tamika Sears from Sears Coaching. She is phenomenal. Please go to our website at alstntech.com/BMWOC to check out her last year's podcast interviews. Is all about the difference between an HR generalist and an HR and other interesting information. Please check out her bio and also definitely check out her website and her page that you're looking at right now and check out her events so that you can contact her to come out and do a leadership workshop or coaching session with you. And so, Tamika, I want to thank you for being a corporate sponsor. I can't even say it. I'm so excited. Thank you for being a corporate sponsor. You surprised me this year. And I'm so happy that you're on this platform, that you are supporting this great cause. I have a mission to not only unify us as a people, but also to unify us, just sharing the information that you're sharing, the type of information that we need to hear, because we have a lot of people who are interested in HR, that are interested in new, interesting things to do in terms of career and business. And with your corporate support, you are helping me do that. And I want to give you a special thank you again for being my corporate sponsor.
No problem. Like I said, I absolutely loved it last year. So how could I not do this again?
Oh my goodness, because you love me and I love you too. So I really appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and come on off the podcast. And thank you so very much. Stay on, okay?